What's going on, everybody? This is D Coach Wisdom giving you a draft analysis of Supreme 7 Star Draft League Season 2. I know what you're wondering. Season 2? I didn't even get to really see Season 1. You've got a video of PDA. We'll worry about that. We will go through what's called the Forbidden Files as we head down the journey of multiple draft leagues that have already been done. But we're going to do these on time as they're being done for you guys. So, Supreme 7 Star Draft League Season 2. You'll notice the coloration is a difference. And then our logo without our writing is here. Let's just go right into the team. So the way the draft worked for this season is we did, instead of a full snake draft, we did round 1, 2, and 3 to do just like the regular draft of sports teams, where it would go 1 through 14, 1 to 14, 1 to 14, and then in round 4 it goes 14 to 1, and then it goes back and forth and goes back to regular snake. So we were pick number 5, if I remember correctly. We had the best odds at getting number 1, but we did a NBA lottery for how we got our picks, and I fell to 5th. Go figure. We did not do so hossy for season 1. You will get to see that through the Forbidden Files as we get there. But this is what we took in round 1. We were not sure of what we really wanted. I had a plan for lower tier mons, but not anything for our upper. And so we just went on ahead and grabbed Latios. So Latios, everybody knows, a great special attacker. It's got good speed tier at 110, special defense, and access to flip turn. There's a lot of things. I was looking at everything on the board, and the mons that I wanted later in the rounds, this kind of fit the team the best. I thought about Latios to have something bulkier, but it doesn't hit as hard, and you'll notice that is probably a trend on our team for this season, is we don't have anything that maybe hits as hard as you think it should. But you'll see the team trend. I really like the team, but so this was our round 1 pick, and I kind of wish I'd show you guys the end progress, but that's not a big deal. We'll get to that as we just break down each game. Round 2, went with Celesteela. Obviously, Skarm, Corv, and Celesteela are the only steel flying that you have really good access to for draft. And I was like, let me get an Ultra Beast, very well rounded, and HP, attack, special attack. It's bulk on both sides. Not really worried about the speed. You can also click, I think, autotomize, if I remember correctly. Get your speed up, and then now it becomes a threat even with its speed. It has a lot of different things. I'm not as familiar with like Sun and Moon stuff, but I do know about the Ultra Beast, and not using them necessarily in Nat decks and draft. But I was just really looking forward to this because I kind of wanted the one thing Skarm and Corv can't do is they can't hit specially, and so now you really don't know what kind of set I'm bringing regardless, because it's so well rounded. It could be AV, it could be Phys Def, it could be an attack boosting, it could be Power Herb, Meteor Beam, with different setup. So got a Dragon Psychic, got us a Steel Flying. Other than Grass, Water, Fire being a core, your other core that you like is Dragon, Steel, and Fairy. I wanted Grimmsnarl from the get-go, but I knew that I had to at least wait, and this was definitely a reach at round 3, but I really wanted access to Prankster, have a Dark type, so I have 2 immunities with Psychic and Dragon going into a Dark Fairy. Have screens. Just having Prankster in itself is fantastic, especially if you run into teams that do not have a Dark type, where they have to Terra into it. Other things that work as well is, catch you off guard. I could have a Banded set and hit you with Play Rough or Spirit Break. It's not bad specially either, but the main thing is that we know what its main role is for, and it would just be used to catch people off guard if you want to change its set. So now we've got Psychic Dragon, Steel Flying, Dark Fairy, And now we start to get into what I feel like I want to use for more the team's weakness overall of kind of what I wanted in the first place. Uh, had very common weaknesses, and so I went on ahead and knew that I could cover this if I ran grassy terrain. Obviously, for weakness of ground. As of now, we have a levitate mon, a flying type. So you're wondering, well, what does that have to do with anything? We drafted Rillaboom after grace period started. We dropped it for Zarude, even though I had Grimmsnarl and give two dark types just because I really wanted Zarude on the team. But then we picked Rillaboom back up because I realized I really need the grassy terrain. And, Rillaboom's got good bulk, hits great physically, choice band sets, um, helps pop. Like if I want to put a grassy seed on something and then now it doesn't have an item, so I can't get knocked off. There's a lot of different things. Obviously, Grassy Glide's nerfed into the hole compared to when it was in Sword and Shield. But yeah, I mean, you get what you get out of Rillaboom, and I really think that we needed it. Round 5. I think this is my favorite pick out of all of them because P2 has a lot of capability. So Porygon 2, obviously, you know it for its fantastic bulk with Eviolite, but it still hits hard, especially. And with Analytic, you can take advantage of its speed and always being last and hitting more and hitting harder. Trace is fantastic too. If you have a matchup against an opponent, you'll see the week 1 matchup. We've got somebody with huge power, a filter, intimidate. I think there was a few other abilities, Volt Absorb. So if those abilities were brought, then we could just trace them. And then also there's download where if they just have a common special defense lacking, then we just get a +1 to our special attack immediately. So P2, great coverage all around too, because it came from Porygon. And a normal type on the team's fantastic. Immunity to Ghost. So now we got big physical attacker with Darm. Most likely going to be Scarfed, but we could do other sets and try to get creative to see what we can do. Not the bulkiest in the world, obviously, but at the same time, you just click Bandit or Scarf, you turn, and then wait until you get a chance to sweep. Flare Blitz obviously does 1,000,000 damage to everything except resistances and fully invested bulky mons. Speaking of bulky but specially mons, we needed a spinner. Really, at this point, our only removal, and will be our only removal, is Defog on Latios, which is probably not going to be ran unless we want to be crazy, or we're just going to put boots on everything. Tentacruel with Spin. Now we've got a grounded poison type. We've got not necessarily a bulky water, not physically bulky, but we've got Fizz bulk and other stuff, but especially bulky. Definitely could run AV on this with Spin, Flip Turn, other things. And then the speed tier can be kind of deceiving because most of the time you're not going to run speed into it. But because of that, some people don't underestimate it, or they will underestimate it, I should say. And you could catch them off guard and have a fast Tentacruel with specs, maybe. Just different things for the team. But now we also have a Grass, Fire, Water core in our team, and now we're starting to get to the later rounds, and this is where I wanted to pick up the Terra Captains. And the 2 Terra Captains I wanted, well, one I wasn't so sure about, but I picked it before my pick that I wanted for certain, and I just wanted to make sure nobody took it. But round 8, we went ahead and took Terra Golurk. And this thing, let me tell you, especially because Porygon 2 has Trick Room, at some point we've got to bring Trick Room P2 and let Golurk just sweep. Any chance that it can happen, let's do it. But at the same time, can't be as predictable as that. Run, Scarf, just Banded, let it be bulky, weakness policy, all that jazz. Its coverage is really good as well, and obviously people think no guard, but also you can run Iron Fist, especially if someone's going to try to run a low accuracy move. against you. But the Terra I was wanting, and I don't know why, I just thought this season this is a mon I wanted to get on the team. It's another grounded poison, but obviously it's going to Terra. It's Terra Toxicroak. And the capabilities of Nasty Plot and Sweeping, especially, um, getting different buffs. Obviously, it hits the way to set up for Swords Dance, Nasty Plot. Speed tier is down to 85, but it's not the end of the world. It's in a sweet spot to when it can set up. You can go ahead and just basically sweep teams and get a free agility off. Um, but I was just really excited for this, and this is our only fighting type, I think. And so, not necessarily the best, but it's hard to cover all types. But we've got 2 more rounds left, and we kind of want to fill the team out with everything we need or what's left in our mind. And so we didn't get a mega in season 1, spoiler alert. But I got a mega this time, and this is a cheaper mega because people think you can prep for it very easily. Prepping for it very easily still means you have to deal with it regardless. So hit strong, especially. It's our highest speed at 135. But Mega Manetric with Intimidate, because it's frail or frailer. I guess it's frail on both sides, but it's not nothing to scoff at, especially when you have an Intimidate come in, and then I can just click Volt Switch out and then go into something else. So I thought it'd be nice, especially because I really, we didn't have an electric type, and I mean that definitely can come in handy when you have like physical, phys def, bulky waters. And then the last pick, we originally picked Wheezing, and I had a third poison type, but it had Levitate. And I decided to switch to, because really it didn't matter. I was also bringing that for Misty I was going to do Galarian Wheezing, Misty Terrain. I have 2 different terrains, but that doesn't really matter. We don't have an Unburden Mon. But we could also have different ability for the Wheezing, Galarian Wheezing, because we didn't need to run Levitate whenever we've got Grassy Terrain to do different things. But we went with Tinkaton. We picked it up after the draft, and it doesn't look like it hits really hard, but Tinkaton does its job. It's especially bulky, and Gigaton Hammer does a lot. So it has access to Play Rough, Ice Hammer, and its speed tier is nothing to joke about. So that's the team, and I'm excited for the season, and I will see you guys in week 1.